You're back to you. That's good,
Oh,
Brian.
oh my goodness, we hit the record button. It's for reals.
Were you not ready? I'm sorry. I should
No,
have given
no,
you a
no. Always,
countdown.
always, always be ready, right? Yeah, for whatever it is.
Right on. Welcome to the first summer NICA podcast of 2024. I'm Sean Moore, and with me as always is League Director Brian Russell. Brian, we are both recently back from the NICA National Conference in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Uh, I I had a great time. How about yourself?
Always a great time. Hanging out with a lot of great people. We've got a lot of great people in this league, but all those other leagues have a ton of great people too. Focused on a very similar mission and getting to ride your bike in a fairly new place. At least for me, I'd never been to Fayetteville, so they got
Yeah, I
some.
had never ridden in Fayetteville either. I've ridden in Bentonville a couple of times, but Fayetteville was new, and their infrastructure is not the same as Bentonville. I don't think it's on the same level, but a really like bike friendly city. Like that was something that really struck me because you and I were both kind of like riding to and from the group ride meetup and everything like that, and it was like for a big city with traffic and all that kind of stuff, it was a breeze to ride around and commute, which was really
Yeah,
cool.
so someone on my group ride as we were biking on the mountain bike trail that cut through campus at the University of Arkansas said, "I want to go back to college.
Yeah,
I want to go to
the
college."
Fayetteville Traverse. Yeah,
Well, it's a draw, funny, quick little story. The last night we had the dinner, kind of going away, seeing everyone, and the young man working the drink table, beside the food was from Texas, had been in the Texas NICA League and went to the University of Arkansas because of the friendly trail atmosphere and trails around Fayetteville, Arkansas. Well, there you go.
yeah, yeah. I thought Fayetteville was like what a normal city or town can do for bike infrastructure and mountain bike infrastructure, where Bentonville is like the platonic ideal of not unlimited money, but like a lot of money and a lot of support can really get you to this like kind of I saw someone described it as Disneyland for mountain bikers. So I think that's like a level above, but Fayetteville was really really great.
It
But
was.
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, interestingly enough, Kathy and I, because Kathy came on the conference too, and we had several staff members out there. The whole idea, part of these conferences is all those other state leagues have a ton of great ideas. So we brought some people out there to listen, talk, steal good ideas, and bring back here to North Carolina. But it was interesting. Kathy and I got back from our trip, and we both kind of agreed our favorite ride of the entire trip was our ride down Heartbreak in Old Fort, North Carolina, that you so kindly shuttled us to the top of. John, and then we got the bomb down the mountain with Golden and Owen, but we didn't have to leave our state to do the favorite ride of the trip. So, yay, North Carolina. We've got some
That
good stuff
that's
here too.
that's awesome. My least favorite part of riding in Fayetteville was going through the cow tunnel under the 6 lane highway that literally was slightly wider by like inches than my handlebars and pitch black. Like when we got in the middle of it, like you could not see anything. I got disoriented, lost equilibrium, punched the wall by kind of steering into it. So not my favorite part. So I tried to avoid any rides that had any mention of going through the cow tunnel again for the rest of the time that we were there. But other than that, everything was fun. And I think it was really great. It's always great to go to the conference and like get get the experience of seeing people that you know that you haven't seen since the last conference, hear all the things that people are doing in their leagues, like that bouncing of ideas off of people and like talking and just the inspiration that comes like seeing John O'Sullivan again. This was the second time that I've seen John O'Sullivan speak, and just a great like thing to kind of like kickstart you thinking of different things and like just that whole melting pot of ideas that comes from a great conference. So just the theme being like level up and this idea of growth, I think that's been like really key. And it was kind of good going into it, knowing like everything we were going to see was about growth, and how different approaches to that were. Like it wasn't just like, you know, get more kids on bikes, which is the ultimate goal. And I like I do want to say I like how NICA has tweaked that mission a little bit, and it was evidenced in the shirts they gave us, and that was more kids on bikes for life. And I think that really kind of uh gives us a nice thing to sort of aim for, and then everything was built around that, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you've said, the NICA conference was very much in line with what I believe our season theme for next season is. We shared that in the last podcast: level up growth. Let's expand some teams. Let's level up coaches, because that's a path to more teams and get more kids on bikes for life. And so it was good to kind of hear those ideas and what other folks are doing out there. For example, I'm sitting next to Cat Williams from Tennessee. And, we've talked with several head coaches so far this summer, Shawn. We're doing that with all the teams, like, hey, what are your challenges? How can we help you? And that idea of like, collaborating with schools or getting into the schools for advertising seems to be a challenge for a lot of folks. And that is nationwide. That is not, the folks at the conference were not a stranger to that idea, but taking some different approaches into the school system. She gave me the idea of going through school counselors. And so I've reached out to the North Carolina School Counselor Association and getting our message out to them saying, hey, we are a youth development organization. We're doing a ton of good for families. And if I segue quickly, I know we'll talk a little more about it in the podcast, our end of season survey, what are parents and coaches and student athletes saying we're doing really well in this league? It's community, it's relationship building, it's everything we're doing when we come together is really, really good. And again, we're seeing all the trend lines from last season's survey. Parents believe their kids are growing physically, mentally, socially, they're gaining in confidence, all those good things. And so maybe we just need to take an approach of getting our message different places in North Carolina so they see the goodness that our league brings. But that's why the conference is so helpful. You get some good ideas like that.
Yeah, and that is the current sort of in education, something as a teacher that we hear a lot is what's termed SEL, social and emotional learning. And it is a big factor, especially post pandemic, when we're trying to reintegrate kids. And even years later, we're seeing the effects of that isolation period that students had when we went remote and things like that. So we do in NICA have things that address stuff that schools are legitimately struggling with. They're really trying to address, and we kind of can come in and say, hey, we're already doing this work. This is the focus of what we do. And so I think that's a really interesting way for you to approach it.
Yeah,
um
there's some other, indirect ways, and let me share on the podcast
yeah.
forever and carry this message, whoever they're talking to in the community, because we are so community based. But we did put together our economic impact survey. Thank you to everyone who contributed. We've got the basic data from that. But that's another thing as I start to talk to communities that I've been on the line with a lot of county governments so far this season. Hey, can we get something started there in a county? And the fact that if you start a NICA team somewhere, you almost get built-in trail maintenance for your trail program and development system. And so we're putting a lot of effort into trail work when the league comes. So I do have like two kind of goals in mind when I talk to localities. It's, is there a team there, and there are team areas to practice and do the things, but is there a league? But we're bringing $90,000 to a town over a weekend when we come, and that is a mix of what everyone's spending: travel, lodging, restaurants, the league, porta johns, and venue fees and all that, but also the trail work we did, about $90,000 on average. And that's very attractive to communities. And again, it's that movement in North Carolina about outdoor economy, outdoor recreation, all those things very, very attractive. And we're starting to see what's very refreshing to me is when a county or a trail builder reaches out and and uses the words, we're trying to build it NICA friendly or within NICA guidelines, the trail system. That's very, very helpful. So kudos to everyone for contributing to surveys like that. It's helpful to get in new areas. We're already thinking new venues for next season to expand our aperture a little bit. All these things are very helpful to do.
And I think too, when we are talking about growth, you and I are meeting with these teams, and we're talking about we've kind of been meeting with some larger teams and talking about the next steps in growth, and really like seeing how a single team seems to have a sort of maximum carrying capacity. And so this idea that we've talked about about, splitting off these scoring units, but then eventually using that as a pathway to growing a separate team. Like that's something that we've talked about as well. And you've had a lot of extensive talk with Dallin Attack, who was the league director for Utah, a league that has 6,000 student athletes, and he shared at the last NICA conference, not this one, their sort of growth trajectory, and it was they started out not huge and like very quickly sort of like started ramping up and just growing exponentially, and they had to accommodate all of that. And one of the things that you and I have talked about that he attributes that to is the idea of moving towards school-based teams. That school-based teams are the pathway to getting more student athletes involved in the league. And so one of the things that was really evident in what tracks I was getting in the NICA conference was kind of first step, are you capturing all of the currently mountain biking student athletes in your area? Like, is every kid that's already into mountain biking, has a family that's into mountain biking, are they already a part of a NICA program? And then after that, like starting to branch out into those that aren't involved in NICA programs, those that aren't involved in mountain biking, so that you can get more growth and get more people involved in mountain biking, not just the people who are already involved. And I think ultimately, like taking that multi-year plan of growth is going to help us tremendously. Well, I think, all of this looking forward to the future, part of what informs that is kind of looking back on what we did. And I know that we just completed the end of season survey and we had 360 respondents, and that was about 140 more than we got the year before. What sort of lessons learned did you gather from that, Brian?
Yeah, I wanted to give everyone an initial preview. I spent about a couple hours for the first time in all the data yesterday, and I probably have another couple days to go through everything. And I will go through everything, just like you said, before we chart the course for the next season. Let's assess how we did in the last season. And next week, we'll announce our winners. We did offer some prizes from our wonderful sponsors, Industry 9, Cognitive MTB, and Ridge Supply. We'll pick 3 names out of the hat, so to speak, of who contributed and award those prizes next week. But I've already shared some of the results. The positives. One, we had a lot of respondents, so we have good data, and most everyone is telling us we're generally on track. They're finding value for their student athletes. Again, I mentioned physical, mental, social, confidence all increasing. They believe generally that coaches are doing a great job, and coaches themselves feel they're supported in doing that job. And I think the metric, Shawn, that sticks with me the most across all those 3 groups that are asked, parents, student athletes, and coaches, over 90% say they're going to come back. People vote with their feet. So I think that's just a very positive sign. On the negative side, we've got some work to do. I think there was a ton of disappointment, and it comes through in the comments about the cancellations, our current no refund policy. I'll give both of those a look through the summer and see what we do about dealing with the rain in the spring here in North Carolina, and see if we can do a better job. If I had to guess, we'll probably see a rain date or 2 on our schedule for next season. So we have a little more flexibility to deal with those things. But yeah, hey, everyone, thanks for the feedback. I will read each and every comment and put together an executive summary like I did last season. Expect in a week or 2, we'll put that in the coach resource page on the website. So everyone can take a look at like what everyone was saying. I want to spend some time on the comments because I think just my sense, Shawn, I'll share with everyone now, is we did a lot of new things this last season. If you think about our season of adventure, and we did some adventure programming, we did some Teen Trail Corps programming. I'm getting mixed, signals on that. Some like it was awesome and great, enjoyed it. Others found it a little challenging to do everything. There's one comment in there about, adventure rides are great if you have the coaches to support the adventure rides, but back up just 2 or 3 minutes on the podcast, level up. Let's get some coaches, let's, and you've got a plan to do that. You've been discussing with all teams, Shawn, that to get some more coach training going into next season. So all these things are related. I just mentioned it, comments, without the specific context, I'm generalizing, but you'll see some comments like NICA is the best organization ever. And then the next comment will be NICA is the worst organization ever. But without the context of who is that and exactly what was going on in your situation, I've got to do some due diligence with all the comments. But again, my sense is people are adjusting to the new normal of trying to do programs, fusion, full spectrum athlete for life. A lot of things you can do on a mountain bike. We're trying to do that the best we can here at the league level. My sense, teams are where all the magic happens. The league here exists to support the teams. Whatever events we do, we're just trying to provide that menu of doing a lot of cool stuff on the plate. But I think part of the sentiment was there was a lot of cool stuff, and maybe we ought to neck it down a little bit. Maybe the season's a little shorter next season is what I'm thinking. But yeah, thank you everyone for contributing. We'll get better executive summary out here in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. I want to pick up on what you said with, coaches leveling up. And so I have sent out invitations to all eligible level 1 coaches that didn't already have OTBS 101. I sent them the links to take the combined WFA CPR OTBS 101. And then I also sent out level 1 coaches that have taken OTBS 101 but don't currently have first aid. I sent them out invitations to take the WFA CPR course, as well as every level 2, level 3 coach that has first aid credentials that are expiring before June 5th of 2025. So some point in the season, I went ahead and sent them the registration links for our WFA CPR. And with this idea in mind of like leveling up, and this is something that we've heard a lot from coaches, is like we need more level 2 and level 3 coaches. We currently have 61 slots available for the OTBS 101 WFA CPR courses for the season. And the season does run from August to October. So any head coaches, team directors, start hitting up your coaches that you want to see leveling up and encourage them to register, because some of these courses are filling up and others are really not seeing much registration. And remember that registrations do close 30 days before the course. So we have to make a decision for some of these as to whether or not they're even going to be held, simply because the numbers aren't there. We have to pay a certain minimum number for WFA CPR. And so that's really going to be a financial decision, because we can't afford to pay for spots that aren't filled. And we also can't extend registration any closer than 30 days, because that's the contract that we have with Solo Southeast. And that's the only way that we have this ability to pay the rate that we pay and make this as affordable as possible for everyone. So definitely, if you can hear this, if it's something you're interested in, by all means, please, look at those emails. They came directly from me. So you can just look up an email sent to your email address from Shawn at northcarolinamtb.org, and you will see the email registration links there. The other thing is that this is not a subscriber email list. I got an unsubscribe email response yesterday. This is not anything that you've subscribed to. If you're an active coach in Pit Zone, I'm pulling your email address from a Pit Zone report and then sending it out to you accordingly. So if you don't want to receive any communications from NC NICA, then please contact your head coach or your team director and ask them to deactivate your coach profile, because as long as you are an active coach in NICA, you are going to be receiving these communications from us. We do not have a way of picking out your email address that you don't want to get this and you don't want to get that. So if you are not interested in being a part of NC NICA anymore, please contact your head coach and ask them to deactivate you, and that will remove you from a lot of these emails. Anything you want to add to that? Oh, I know the thing that we hinted at, but maybe didn't really talk about, and that is our coach retreat in October. And this is going to be the last weekend of October, 26th and the 27th. And it's going to be in.
We hinted at the beginning of the podcast, the favorite ride of our trip this summer, Old Fort, North Carolina. Camp Greer specifically. So thanks to the folks at Camp Greer for being willing to host us.
Yeah, this is going to be a really cool venue. Camp Greer has some trail access via a trail on their property over to the Gateway Trails, the newly built trail system there in Old Fort, and then from there you can actually access some other trails. So it's pretty cool. Like there's a lot of stuff that you can get to by bike if you so choose.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add is dates for all those coach sessions you talked about, Sean, are on the website. If anyone has questions about specifically where they are and when they're going, those are on the coach training page of the website.
Yeah, and it's going to be exciting. Like I will be sharing a lot that I learned at the NICA conference. Uh, I'm sure that you will be speaking a lot about things that you picked up from the NICA conference. So it will be a great way for us to get together. I encourage and would like to see a coach from every team. Like that would be the one request that I make because there are teams that we're not seeing engage in coaches calls or coach retreats or really anything. And then a lot of the questions that come up from those teams really show a that lack of engagement, that disengagement, questioning why we do things when we are very like I think we're very transparent about the reasons why we do a lot of stuff. So I'd like to see every team, that would be my challenge. Every team send a coach to coach retreat so that you can get that nice big shot of NC NICA culture and sort of get reinvigorated as to why we do what we do.
And I know we have a few details to work out, Sean, but costs are going to be pretty low for this one. Pretty inexpensive lodging options right on Camp Greer. They're offering some pretty inexpensive meal options, breakfast, lunch right on site. So it's going to be pretty inexpensive to spend the weekend with us in Old Fort, which again, great town, some good training, and like you said, just part of sharing the coaches are the culture keepers. I think I heard that from you years ago, Sean, because that's where the magic happens. That's the most direct interaction with our student athletes. And so we do want to make sure everyone is well equipped to do that level of interaction with our student athletes.
Absolutely. And then we've got a couple of other dates that really we need to get across. You know, our theme for the season is level up. Have you revealed anything behind that or just what the theme is?
So we can reveal. I'm
I
still
don't know. I'm not trying to force
doing
you.
the no, doing some of the artwork that we've done the past couple seasons, so people will see leaders jerseys and award flags, and all the social media will be themed similarly. So level up came from the idea of the character in an arcade game, whether that's Mario or someone else, like going through the game and collecting the tokens or whatever it requires to level up. So it'll be an arcade theme. And out at the NICA conference, our merchandise provider TC Screen Printing is right down the road in Siloam Springs. We spent Saturday with them checking out their production facility and warehouse. Is super cool. They're super excited about the arcade theme. They were just like, oh, the merchandise is going to be great, type of thing. So yeah, that's the theme for the season is level up, because we want to grow, we want to support coaches, but it'll have an arcade theme for the season.
Yeah, and I can't thank TC Screen Printing enough for not just what they do for us, but like what they did for us at the conference was like fantastic. I mean, their support of NICA, like they're just all in, and you can just see how excited they are. And you know, they even said like we're not doing this to make money because it's not that big of a moneymaker, but just we really support this mission, and I think that's great. And their new facility was like super impressive and just like such an awesome place. And I think I even told you like that's the future NC NICA headquarters. That's the way I want them to be.
It was that open air design studio office type of things. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And just we'll put in a reminder. Online store is still open. So if you thought you missed your 2024 season merchandise, or even some of the standard things they have on there, available all summer before we reset. Probably we'll aim for holiday season in the fall, getting the new stuff out for the next season. Had a good session with them last week online, so I think we're set for that. But with that, why don't we, Sean, just like lightning round through some of the dates for preseason, just to make sure again that's on people's radars.
You read my mind. So you
There you
started
go.
talking about next season. And so season registration for coaches and teams is going to start on September 1st. That is 15 days earlier than normal. And then for student athletes, it's going to start on October 1st. Again, 15 days earlier than normal. So our preseason will start on October 1st. Like that is when you can do your 6 team preseason activities. After that, on November 2nd, we're going to have a grit event. And on the 16th of November and the 7th of December, we will have adventure events. Because the November dates for the grit and the adventure both fall in preseason, those will not count against you as one of your preseason activities. So you are still able to, at the team level, have 6 preseason events, not counting participation in one of the league level preseason events. The first adventure event is going to be in Old Fort. So if you kind of tag on to what we do with the Coach Retreat and then check out Old Fort and then come back for the adventure event, that'll be a time for your student athletes to experience like just how cool that little town is and how cool it's going to become, because they have big plans. All right, that's kind of that. I'm going to let you take over NICA regionals, because that I feel like is more in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, and one quick update, which is good for our student athletes. We've had the information about regionals out for a while now, 9 to 11 November. It's Veterans Day weekend up in Maryland, same place it was last season. We had about 20 athletes up there, and several of the coaches and parents came up. Really, really good time. They've got a ton of riding, so adventure course will be up and running. The race is a qualifier, and the change, well, I want to brief everyone on, the NICA originally sent invitations to all of our athletes who placed in the top 30% of any 2024 season race. And I've gone through the past couple of weeks. Some parents didn't receive the emails, and we're working through that, but I think those invitations are out. But I petitioned last week for NICA to also include our student athletes that finished in the top 30% of the season. There were a few that, were kind of 35%-ish, across any particular of the 4 races, but actually did very well and finished in the top 30. So that's an additional 17 athletes that should receive invitations here in the next week or two to go race up in Maryland. And I'll bridge that into the CPT discussion, which we discussed last podcast, Sean, but just, to let everyone know that draft CPT for 2025 is on the website. If you want to take a look at it now, coaches or athletes, you can see where you are placed initially for next season. And it was just good to get it done, but I had to get it done because that's the category you'll race in if you go to regionals. So you're going to race your 2025 category, much like the fall leagues racing in their 24-25 season category. So that's one of the reasons we got that out there early. And just for we're changing again. Oh no, Russell, you're changing something again. We are changing our high school ability-based category names. We're moving from the high school terminology to the JV. So we will start JV3, JV2, JV1 to varsity because that's where NICA is going. A lot of the other high school ability-based leagues went to JV Vice High School. NICA is doing that. So, hey, let's standardize. And so we'll do that as well for next season.
All a plot to keep me from remembering anybody's category. I appreciate that. A couple other things. So we've been talking with teams, and we just want to kind of put it out there in general that teams do have the option to opt into the new 5th grade pilot program that we will be having next season. And this is purely team discretion. It's something that you should really have some conversations about. Can you support those sorts of things? We'll have more guidance on what that will look like for event weekends and things like that. One of the things, though, is that programmatically, there's nothing really new. It's not like there's a new set of skills that you're supposed to be addressing with 5th graders or anything like that. Like, it's all the things that you've been doing with all the rest of your student athletes, just now kind of getting 5th graders involved. And if you're a school-based middle school team, then you would be eligible to pull fifth graders from any of the elementary schools that are the feeder schools for your middle school. I know that's one question that comes up. So same with any regional composite teams, any of the elementary schools that fall on your region, that would be the elementary schools that you would be pulling fifth graders from. So a couple of clarifications on that. And then the other thing, we have done some recommendations for handbook updates. And a lot of that was just kind of getting policies that we wrote during the season to address things that we were witnessing into the handbook so that we got them codified, and it's no longer just Brian Russell says.
Or you know what my pet peeve is. Oh, North Carolina does it this way. And I'd go, well, where's that written down? No, we just do it that way.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
let's
just the
write
way
that
we
down.
do it. Yeah. Let's
Let's
write
write
it
that
out.
down. So everyone knows, and no
Yeah.
surprises. Yes.
Yep. Yes. That way one person doesn't have to be the rememberer of all things that we do weird. Absolutely. All right. So I started off before we started, I shared some jokes that were not, I think, ready for the podcast. However, if you come to Coach Retreat, you can ask what the secret jokes are. We'll let that be an Easter egg for you at Coach Retreat, following on the arcade theme of Level Up. But let's go ahead and come to everybody's favorite part of the podcast, the whole reason why they've listened up to this point, and that is the dad jokes. So you ready? Because normally you're all like set to go.
I'm ready, and
Okay.
I'm going to take everyone back to the coach training you mentioned, WFA in particular, because if you have signed up, I highly encourage you to start your online training. It takes a couple minutes. Even at 1.5 speed, getting through all the videos and everything is going to take a little bit of time. So go ahead and get started. But I wanted to offer this to everyone because I don't think it's one of those situations that they're going to cover in the online videos. And they're pretty extensive, Shawn, like avalanche accidents, like you get a lot.
Foot
But I
turned backwards.
yeah, but I don't think they're gonna get this one. But so everyone knows, where do you take someone who gets injured in a peekaboo accident?
Oh, I have no idea.
The ICU, obviously. So anyway, there you go. Freebie for your WFA. You won't see it in the videos, but now you know.
I'm sure that your WFA instructor will really appreciate that
Yeah.
that joke. So there's
I have
one for you to I have a question.
Yeah.
That'll be great. I definitely want to hear that story. If you do that, I want to hear about it. So mine is summer vacation related, and right now we're gearing up for our trip. I am remodeling the van, so a lot of work on my part, hence the overalls. These are my work overalls. But where do sharks go on summer vacation?
Martha's Vineyard, because Jaws popped in my mind. Probably not what you were
Not a
going.
maybe second tier vacation. Finland is the first one.
Ah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah.
All
Excellent.
right. Well, thank you to both of you that have listened to this point. We appreciate it. Bill, as always.
Yeah.
And we will be coming back at you sometime at the end of July, beginning of August for another update. And we'll see you then. Enjoy your summer.
Sounds good. Yeah. Have a great summer, everybody. See you then.